Greetings world. We are Anon DK. As we have done before, so we come to you again with a message of warning, to help you see what you may be missing. The elite who rule us play both sides, and in recent videos we have been exposing this to you as well as their future plans. There is a plan the elite are fulfilling today. The alliance of the kings of the East, those who will rise against Israel in the next war. So let us take a look briefly at some past events. Regarding China and the USA, China has been stockpiling weapons and ammunition of various kinds for years now, buying them from Russia. With the world's largest population, it will be a force to be reckoned with. Currently it is securing the Spratly Islands. These strategically placed islands is a control point for all the oil trade in the area, as well as 50% of the world's population. The trade from Japan, Taiwan, Australia, Indonesia and Singapore can be controlled at this point. Not to mention the oil pockets under and around those islands. China gained that land during World War II and the USA is trying to take it from them now. In 1997, China leased an vacant U.S. Navy pier in California to help speed their enormous imports into the U.S. The balance of U.S. payments with China shows a growing deficit of $50 billion, which is expected to be $100 billion shortly. China is also attempting to gain the Panama Canal area through long-term leases at each end of the canal. This would give them control of the shipping through the canal. This would easily lead to USA having to divide its military. However, that is assuming USA will still be a country. In 2014, China became the dominant buyer of American investment green cards, as well as land purchases. In America, with America's gigantic debt crisis, it has no choice but to be divided up and sold. This has been happening in small amounts for many years, under the table of course. It is easy to keep many things silent when the media is entirely controlled. In small towns across the country, such as Thomas, Alabama, they are literally giving land away to China for free so they may build businesses there, so the citizens of America will have jobs. The land this town gave away was worth $1.5 million. One large company, Smithfield Foods, which hold 460 farms and contracts 2,100 others, holds facilities in 26 states, was bought by China for $4.7 billion. Since the American dollar is valueless, it is easy to print off any amount. Numbers when it comes to dollar amounts do not have a meaning since the dollar has no value. So the 4.7 billion pieces of paper China had to print off was a small price to pay, if that. As the USA tries to hide its currency in economic catastrophe, it will be divided and sold to China and other countries it owes an enormous debt to because of its greed and selfishness. Americans will have to let go of their brainwashed mentalities when they receive their Chinese owners. It would likely be better for the American people, as communist countries are known to at least give their citizens shelter and work and food. That basic necessity not even the American fascists will allow. However, China is not likely to forget the rape, murder, and drugs the Western military flooded them with during the 20th century, destroying their preserved culture of thousands of years. But keep in mind, these countries are simply the elite's other hand. They are also just as controlled mentally, educationally, financially, and militaristically as the USA. The kings of the East are gathering, as we see with Philippines currently pulling away from USA and will move into alliance with the rest of Asia. North Korea, Serbia, Russia, Turkey and Iran and many other countries between are forming an alliance currently that will bring back the empires of over 3,000 years ago. They have already created the necessary currency changes, trade agreements, military alliances, and more with the other countries around the world. They require nothing from the outside world that has shut them out for so long. It is those outside of it who will need from them. Really all that is needed now to start the domino effect to solidify the old empires is for Turkey to remove itself from NATO. Officially, this will cause all of the other old Soviet countries to do the same and be able to return to the ancient empire Russia again. One reason the USA has forced itself into Ukraine and has been occupying and controlling it for the last few years is to prevent these countries from leaving the EU that has destroyed their economies and government structures. Since Turkey has now allied with Russia and removed many NATO leaders and other CIA Mossad infections, Russia has managed to survive through its numerous and heavy sanctions placed on it by the EU and America, because it was once an enemy in a previous government and ruling system. But that's just details, right? Let alone the now constant USA government and media blaming every event on Russia. I suppose if it's not ISIS then it must be Russia. Russia is to blame because it points out the idiocy of America and the bloodlust and corruption therein. Obama has placed several hits on Putin and as we saw in the news was almost successful once. The USA has declared war on Russia multiple times in the last few months alone. Russia remains the logical and sober giant. When it attacks, it is well planned, and no one will know until they move. The Russian territory and Chinese territories have been allies, for the most part, through history. In the BC years there were many tribes like the Khazars, and Pannonians, and Mongols, Huns, the Thracians. All types of interwoven tribes have filled the area for thousands of years. This territory was constantly invaded by the Roman Empire. The tribes raped and murdered and made into slaves. The history is rich with blood and alliances lost and gained from both northern and southern regions. And China and Russia continue to have extensive military, trade, and other strong ties, now including Iran in their military contracts. Russia just started more negotiations to align with Japan. If only in trade, Russia has already obtained some surrounding Japanese seas. Japan seems to have little choice. However, with the scripted politics we have, things take time. We see Russia's economy rising now and prosperity returning slowly but surely to the country, as it arms the world for war against the elite banking-controlled nations, Israel and America. Just recently, Russia has said it has had enough. So what is the importance of this? Not only are these specific alliances, and many other events, fulfilling multiple prophecies thousands of years old and happening before our eyes, but the next part of the prophecy which is yet to come, perhaps in a couple years yet, is interesting indeed. After the alliances of the kings of the East, they will all rise against Israel, the Middle East, the old Persian Empire, Turkey, Russia and all the previous Soviet countries, China and all allies, will be like a cloud coming over Israel. This is the warning. Should this happen, many terrors await us all. It will be a time of utter devastation. Israel will fall only to rise again with the force of the New World Order behind it. When Israel returns it will rebuild its third temple, the temple they mean to make the throne of the New World Leader, who will come proclaiming peace, After the next war, when they bring back peace, then all hell breaks loose. Know the signs and symbols and do not be deceived. Do not be deceived by the other hand. Do not be deceived by false peace. Expect it.